Alright guys, so I'm going to cover one last build for tonight. I'll cover some more later on in the week, but what we're going to do is go for town center first with hunting dogs. So with Babylon, I'm able to queue it up as soon as I start the game. On the other civs, you're going to have to wait until you actually get this first storehouse, but in either case, it's pretty much the same process. So with the start, you can either gather a little bit of wood if you want, or go straight on the berries. So it's really much for much, which you actually do. As long as you go for your fourth villager to create a storehouse here, or as your fourth trains and hunting dogs is, about 3/4 finished, you send those guys across and send your fourth villager over towards the hunt anyway. You really probably, as Babylon, only want to have 4 villagers on the hunt to start with. You don't really need that 5th if you're going hunting dogs. You will need a 5th if you don't get hunting dogs straight off the bat as Babs. But I think you're pretty much right with 4 villagers there to start with. And build up your wood eco first for Babylon. For the other civs, you're pretty much fine to go straight up to 5 villagers on the hunt before you worry about getting your storehouse on your wood line and getting all that going. But yeah, for Babs, you just seem to gather from the hunt just that little bit faster than the other civs. It's just about instant. They'll have to come back down there to scout. So, to town center first. You do want to get a good idea of what your opponent's doing. So I'm being a little bit greedy here. Naturally, I just like to be a bit greedy and just have a good idea of where to put a greedy second town center, or at least just know where a third hunt and a second gold mine are, in the very least. We're here on Ghost Lake, actually, so it could be worth my while, as soon as I've really cleared that first hunt, coming across over here and checking to see where the sheep are, because there's often clumps of 3 sheep here, so it's really nice to snatch those up. I'll bring those home before he can pinch them. And I can look at going for Ziggurat now, even with only 4 villagers on food and 5 on the wood, and just focus on that stone income from now on. With Babs in Egypt, you're actually going to want to keep 4 to 5 villagers over on the hunt, because you're going to need to produce villagers while you're aging up. They do age up slightly slower as well. I mean, they do train slightly slower as well. So that does help offset that a little bit. But yeah, for the other civs, you probably pull a villager, or possibly even 2, over to this stone mine and start gathering stone straight away. Whereas Egypt and Babylon, instead you're able to just keep training vills. So you use that to bump up your stone gathering from here. At the same time, you do have to leave an extra bill or 2 over on the food. So, sort of much for much. And I mean, it's an AI, so I'm not really all that worried about being rushed, or if you're against a new player, same thing. Against more advanced players, obviously I'd want to actually keep the scout here, keep an eye on. I should really make a big point of checking to see if your opponent's going for spearmen early on. So, as you're taking this Ziggurat, have your scout here in the middle of the map to see if there's enemy spearmen coming to raid your own hunt. I'm pretty safe as it's over on the back, but you're not always that lucky. If it's a frontside hunt in particular, you do want to have your scout somewhere in between your base and your opponent's base, just to check and see if spearmen are on the way. From here though, because I've left 4 villagers on food, I'm actually slightly over gathering food, which works in my favor because I can get handsaw. I should have actually taken this house slightly quicker here, because as you can see I'm actually population capped, but fear not. You can go for loom in this situation, or you can just have 3 or 4 villagers actually force the house up slightly quicker. It's not as efficient to actually have multiple villagers building a building. There is diminishing returns incurred with having multiple villagers build a building. What I mean is, it takes 15 seconds to build a house. It doesn't take 7.5 seconds to build it with 2 villagers. It takes about 10 seconds. And so, with Babs, because I haven't actually invested in anything that's going to cost gold other than handsaw, I'm free to actually take my first garden here. I'll bunker it up against another building, and I will actually get another house here. I could actually big brain put it on the edge of the garden, make it even harder to try and take down and snipe. And yeah, with my villagers now pretty much finished up here, I can look at taking... I'll go for a safe town center, just because I can. And I can actually use this ox cart now over here while the villagers can go straight on the hunt without having to invest in another ox cart. Or what I could do is put it over here somewhere, put it on that gold mine, and then have the ox cart over on the deer. 4 villagers is maybe not quite enough to sustain 2 villager food income, but the thing is I've already banked a little bit of food, and I've got villagers here who are going to go straight on the food. In fact, I could make sure I've got a couple of them coming back over onto this gold, and I'm actually ready to go for, let's go stables first, get some lancers out, annoying, scary unit. So it's good to sort of think about how your build can help unsettle your opponent, force them to have to rethink, or go for panic things. So it's probably a good idea now actually to come back and check and see if he's done anything else. Like, let's just assume he's going second town center first as well, so I haven't really had to worry about scouting till now, but it'd be a good idea to come back, just see what buildings he's got. Even though I've decided to go stables, it's nice to know what he's got, so I can either double down and keep making stables units, or get a range, or get a barracks of my own. Like, he's Persia, he's probably going to send us a Bara at some point, so we'll even set this barracks to go over here, and these guys, well, we can preemptively make them go over there as well. Being Babs, I probably want to squeeze in some more gardens if I can afford to do so. Got 2 production facilities, so why the heck not? Also being Babs, I'm going to eventually need a bit more wood than this, and to cut the food eco a little bit. So yeah, make sure to keep your scout active and just keep an eye on what your opponent's doing. I can't really see any military production just yet. There's just a bit of a dance around his base. So we'll get the lancers, we'll start streaming them over to where his villages are, because we can see some undefended. And we'll also have the barracks set to go over here and defend our most distant hunt or most distant resource outcrop. I could also, you know, split the spears up as one streams out, send him here, send one over here to guard the wood line, send one over here to guard this hunt. So, you know, it sometimes helps to split your spears up. Obviously, if your opponent's opening double stables or something, you're probably going to want to add your own second barracks, and for now keep your spears somewhat together so they don't just get individually sniped. Make sure to get houses as well. And again, if you're worried about it costing you build time, don't hesitate to use a second or third villager on the house. Otherwise, try and keep it to just 1 villager per building. Before your hunt runs out here, get more ox carts. Obviously on the other side it's not a problem because you can just build a storehouse. But you can always preemptively build a storehouse with 1 or 2 villagers rather than relying on, you know, all 800 of them streaming across the map to build a storehouse. Half of them go AFK doing nothing because there's a maximum number of builders you can have. In fact, it might also be a good idea. Stop overgathering a couple of resources here. Get an armory, or add a little bit more in the way of military production just to make me a bit stronger from here on out. So yeah guys, this is just a bit of an idea on how to open 2 TC first. Obviously this is a bit of an ideal situation because the AI hasn't attacked me, so we can sort of assume this is how you go about it in the event you're doing it against someone that either is going to open like barracks first but not actually apply any pressure, which doesn't really happen the higher up you go, or alternatively they're playing a pretty much identical situation. They want to go for 2 TC before anything else, really get that macro going. AI is actually stealing sheep from me, I don't believe it. In fact, I need to get a little bit more gold here so I can get my age ups popping. And I mean, against Persia, scary, I might even opt to go scale mail over a damage upgrade first, just because Asabara, really punishing. If I haven't got enough spears there, or if they're fighting against greater numbers, it's a good idea to have some armor on them. And it's also going to be helpful for these lancers because he's going to be training spearmen to try and counter these. So it's a good idea to, you know, just take into account what your opponent's doing as you've got stuff around his base. He's going for his armory as well, but he's not got that. He's going for a range, that's to counter my spearmen. So I can even switch to bearer production, get some of my own ranged of some sort. Bows obviously a little bit more versatile than slingers. Slingers hard counter ranged units, but they're not very effective in general. While archers are sort of the other way around. The bowmen, great against infantry, but not to the extent that skirmishers and slingers have over them, but at the same time, they just hit a little bit harder against non-counter units, which is always handy. And yeah, no matter what build you're doing, stay active on the map. Keep an eye on what he's doing. Try and restrict him in terms of resources. In fact, I've got a huge amount of army just to bring over. Do the naughty and just attack move with everything. So it can be quite handy to have all military on a hotkey. Obviously, you want to have all villagers, idle villagers on a hotkey, or at least an idle villager hotkey. Chisel's probably nice to add now. I've actually got the stone I need to go the town center once I age up. I'm just going to try and pick up this food income a little bit. Yeah, guys, that's just a bit of an idea on how to go for fast second town center. Particularly with Babs, but it's pretty similar across all the civs. And again, this is a bit of an ideal situation where you either are up against your opponent looking to do fast second town center or fast dock, or they're just producing military at home but not actually moving out, so you're able to not worry about getting spear rush. If you do scout your opponent going for spears, don't panic, just take loom as quickly as you can, and don't hesitate to drop back to the berries. If you're pretty certain it's going to be a spear rush, you might not want to actually get hunting dogs and just rely on doing it without hunting dogs, because it frees you up to take pickers, gloves a little bit more easily, because you'll be fighting at a resource disadvantage, particularly if you invest in hunting dogs and immediately get spear rushed. Yeah guys, cheers for watching. I think I've covered pretty much everything here. And look, 75 villagers and we're 12 minutes into the game.